Welcome back to the Bad Influence podcast where we show you how to overcome your negative thoughts. I'm the bad influence that you need in your life, Bjordan Banderas. Let's cut to the shit that is holding a lot of you back. Bad habits and toxic thoughts are like invisible chains wrapped around your brain, holding you back every damn day. They keep you stuck in the same routines, trapped in the same beliefs, running the same self-destructive loops over and over and over and over again. Whether it's the constant thought that you're not good enough, the habit of scrolling mindlessly on your phone every day for hours at a time, or the fear of failure, if you're sick of feeling controlled by your own mind, you're in the right place. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "This is just who I am," or "I've tried everything and nothing works, so I'm just going to stay the same, even though I hate it," right? That happened to me. It has happened to a lot of people that I know. It has happened to my wife. But here's the thing. That's not truth. That's a story you've been telling yourself. And guess what? That story is keeping you from becoming the person you truly want to be. So today, we're cracking the code. I'm going to show you a dead simple way to break those bad habits and toxic patterns without relying on willpower alone. Sure, you need willpower, but willpower alone will not help you change this. No more beating yourself up. No more feeling like you're stuck with these behaviors forever. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to shift gears and reclaim control of your life. So, if you've ever felt like you're on a hamster wheel of negativity, losing days, weeks, even years to fucking habits that don't serve you, stick around. Because we're diving deep, and by the time we're done, you'll have the tools to rewrite your narrative and start fresh today, not tomorrow. The real problem is that most people think habits are set in stone. It's like we make it sound like it's just who we are. Like we cannot change it. They're there. It's like it's been carved into us, right? They figure if they've always been late, they'll always be late. If they've always reached for junk food when stressed, they'll always do it. Society shrugs and says, "That's just the way you are." And we believe it. But here's the thing. These habits didn't appear out of nowhere. No, they didn't. They're responses your brain learned to cope with discomfort, fear, or boredom. They're mental shortcuts that used to serve a purpose. Maybe to protect you from emotional pain. But now they're holding you back. Way back. But unlike a broken arm that heals over time, bad habits don't just fade. If you ignore them or try to muscle through with sheer willpower, they cling to your identity. It's like this humongous rock that you're carrying in your back and you don't even know it's there. They shape your self-image. I'm just not disciplined. I'm not good at sticking to goals until you believe these lies. So, how do you break out of this loop? How do you stop settling for mediocrity and start acting like the person you want to be, not the one you've been stuck as? Ooh, that's a good question, huh? Well, that's what we're about to tackle head on, so buckle up. Years ago, I had a nasty habit of saying yes to everyone, even when it drained me. I'd agree to extra work, last-minute plans, and endless favors, even though I felt overwhelmed and resentful. I told myself I was just a people pleaser. And that's who I'd always be. That habit started small, maybe a fear of disappointing others. But over time, it turned into a pattern that ran my life. I was constantly exhausted, chasing approval instead of my own goals. I believed I had no choice, that this was ingrained in my personality. It wasn't until a close friend sat me down and said, Jordan, you know you can say no, right? That something clicked. It sounded obvious, which it is, but I realized I never questioned this habit. It was woven into my identity. Breaking it felt impossible until I faced it. Once I admitted to myself that I could rewrite this narrative, everything fucking changed. I started practicing one simple shift. Pause before saying yes. That small action cracked open the door to a new identity, one where I could actually honor my own time and my own energy. And that's exactly what I want for you. I want you to understand this. Your brain isn't out to get you. It's just efficient. Habits form because your brain loves shortcuts. When you repeat an action enough, your mind locks it in to save energy. Your thoughts work the same way. Patterns of self-doubt or negativity become the default setting. Neuroscientists call this process neuroplasticity. Your brain literally reshapes itself based on what you do repeatedly. The good news is that this means you can also change it. You're not stuck. You can teach your brain new patterns, healthier habits, more empowering thoughts. But, there's always a but, huh? It won't happen overnight. You can't snap your fingers and delete a 10-year habit, especially if it's something like smoking or drinking or doing something that it's hurting you and at the same time others. But by consistently, okay? I want you to understand that, consistently, introducing new actions and beliefs, you lay down new neural pathways. And over time, these fresh routes become the familiar roads your mind travels without effort. So, if anyone ever told you you can't change who you are, understand that's scientifically false. It has been proven. There's research from neuroscientists. So you can change. Yes, you can. And the people that tell you that you can't, those people are telling you that because they see themselves as someone who cannot change. And when you see yourself as someone who cannot change, you want others to stay down in the bottom with you. You don't want to be alone. So you tell others to never try to change because they can't. Just so you stay there in the bottom, in that hole with someone. But guess what? You can change. Yes, you can. It's tough, but it's doable. And the following steps will show you how to make that change stick. So step 1, name the habit or thought you want to change. Don't be vague. Pinpoint it. Maybe it's the habit of scrolling mindlessly on your phone or the constant thought that you're not good enough. Call it out. Say it out loud. Like, oh, I have a bad habit of drinking. I have a bad habit of snapping whenever shit doesn't go my way. Stuff like that. Like, say it. Call it out. Figure out what that is. Say it out loud. Write it down. And once you do that, let's move on to step 2. Ask yourself why you do it. What feeling are you avoiding? Is it stress, boredom, fear of failure? Understanding the emotional trigger behind your habit makes it easier to find healthier ways to cope. So if you're drinking, if you're smoking, if that's the type of habit that you want to change, figure out why. Does it make you feel better? Is it to cope with stress? Why are you doing it? Why do you snap out of nowhere when shit doesn't go your way, right? Just call it out and then figure out why it happens. Then step 3, create a tiny achievable replacement action. If you're breaking the habit of late night snacking or smoking, whatever it is, replace it with a quick walk around the block or drinking a glass of water. This is something that I did, but you can do whatever you want. One of the things that I have done as well is that I used to eat a lot of candy when I will feel stress. That's a bad habit. Why? Because it can give me diabetes. And I have already been pre-diabetic, so I'm like, I'm not going back to that. So now, when I feel stress, when I feel super, super stressed, and junk food gives me comfort, instead of going for the junk food, I do 10 push-ups. Just 10 push-ups. And that changes the patterns in my brain. I can feel it. Because then I don't think about food. I'm like, ooh, I get all pumped up and I'm like, let's get ready. Let's destroy this, whatever is fucking bugging me. Right? Whatever is stressing me, I'm like, oh, let's deal with this. So you don't have to go to that extent. You just have to make it so simple so you can't fail. And then step 4, reinforce your new identity. Instead of saying, I'm someone who always screws up, say, I'm learning to make better choices. Instead of, I'm a procrastinator, say, I'm building better discipline. The words you speak become the reality you live. And that's part of neuroplasticity too. Then step 5, celebrate small wins. Every time you replace a bad habit with a better one, acknowledge it. That pat on the back isn't cheesy. It's neuroscience. Because rewarding yourself helps your brain lock in the new behavior. Like with me, doing my 10 push-ups. I'm like, great, I did my 10 push-ups and I felt good. Why? Because I said, like, instead of eating junk food and candy, all this stuff, I did my 10 push-ups. So I felt good. I give myself a pat on the back and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Then step 6, practice consistently. Change doesn't happen by taking one big leap. No, it doesn't. It's about showing up for yourself each day. Even when you feel like you don't have to do it, or when you feel like you don't like it, like you're tired, just do it anyway. That's how you tip the scales and make the new pattern your default setting. Remember, these steps are about progress, not perfection. And I want you to understand that. Because if you mess up, it's just data, not a death sentence. Now you can figure out why you mess up, what needs to change, how you can make the habit better, right? So if you mess up, just recommit and keep going. And over time, these small shifts add up to massive transformation. And one question I always get asked when I talk to people about this, they ask me, but why go through all this effort? And that's a good question, especially because it's hard. And my answer to that question is because your habits shape your entire life. If you're stuck in a loop of self-doubt and destructive actions, you're shrinking your potential. You're living a life smaller than what you're capable of. But once you break free of those chains that are holding you back, those habits and negative thoughts, you're unstoppable. You'll wake up excited about who you're becoming. Your relationships improve because you're showing up as the best version of yourself. Your productivity soars, not just at work, but when it comes to your goals, you'll see progress more and more and more often. Your confidence skyrockets. And let's be real, life won't stop testing you. You'll always have stress, you'll always have setbacks, and temptations will always be around. But when you know how to bend your habits to serve you, when you know how to rewrite your thoughts, you remain resilient no matter what hits. This is something that I saw with my own eyes after my wife got sick. We lost her income, as I have mentioned multiple times. We lost her income. We literally lost everything. Right? I was still in a negative mindset. I was still having negative habits or bad habits. But then I had to change. And life hit me from so many different angles. I didn't know what to do, but I did it anyway. I was tired, but I did it anyway. I became resilient. I saw that by creating new habits, my life was changing. I learned new things and I got a better job every time I switched jobs. A job that will pay me more and offer better insurance. Not just for me, but for my wife. And it all started because I needed to change my habits. The habits that were holding me back. The habits that were saying to me, you don't have what it takes. Well, guess what? It turned out that I do have what it takes. And I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you my story. So, don't settle. Don't let old patterns keep you in a box. The moment you decide to break those habits and shift those thoughts, you reclaim your power. And that's when life opens up. Here's the bottom line. And I want you to pay attention to this, because this is very important. You are not your habits. You are not your negative thoughts. They're just stories and patterns, and you have the power to change them. The simple process we walk through today is your roadmap. This is just a roadmap. And let me tell you something, because of something that I saw on social media. There's a few coaches that are selling the blueprint of how to change your life. But in order for you to get their blueprint, you have to pay them a lot of money. But here's the problem with a blueprint. A blueprint was created based on someone else's life. It was created based on someone else's struggles. So that blueprint might have helped you, the person that is selling it to you, to overcome certain habits and certain negative thoughts. But that doesn't mean it's going to help you, because you're not trying to build the same life that they have. You're a completely different person. Okay? So you don't need a blueprint. You need a roadmap. You need a fucking roadmap. You need a way to figure out how to do this for yourself. What works for you, what doesn't. Because here's one thing that I have seen. I have friends that have bought expensive courses from coaches. And it's all the same generic information. And it doesn't work for them. And when it doesn't work for you, something that you paid a lot of money for, thousands of dollars sometimes a month, guess what happens? Those negative thoughts, those negative habits can come back with a vengeance. With a fucking vengeance. Why? Because you try something that is supposed to help you and you pay a lot of money and all of this and it doesn't work. So you blame yourself. And you let those bad habits and bad negative thoughts come back and say like, see, I told you. Better stay drinking at night every single day because you suck. You don't have what it takes. And that's why you need a roadmap. You need step by step, like simple steps. Just simple fucking steps. You don't need a blueprint. You need step by step. You need a roadmap that's going to work for you. You need a map of how to change your life. But then, create that map based on your life. And that's what I wanted to say on this episode today, because I'm tired of seeing that on social media. And I'm tired of reading about people getting scammed, about fucking blueprints and fucking courses that don't fucking work for them because they're selling you something that is based on someone else. And that's why I give you these steps. These steps have helped me. These steps have helped my wife and my friends and other people that I know. So it's up to you if you want to try those steps. And like I always say, if it doesn't work for you, try it a different way, a way that works for you. Don't be afraid to experiment with information you receive. And that's it for today. If this episode lit a spark inside you, share it. Send it to a friend who needs a push. Post it on social media or play it for someone you love. Let's create a ripple effect of change, a global community of people who refuse to let old patterns define them. This is the Bad Influence Podcast, and I'm your host, Bjordan Banderas. Remember this, real strength isn't about being perfect. It's about having the balls to rewire your mind and choose who you want to be. You've got the tools. Now go try it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next episode where we'll dive even deeper into building the life you've only dreamed of. Until then, keep pushing, keep growing, and never forget, you hold the pen that writes your story, and have a great day.